Our 2-game losing streak was broken in week 8 when we picked up a W over Zach Savage of FantasyLand. Let's see if we can keep it going in week 9. Our week 8 matchup was an absolute sweat, coming down to the final game of the week on Monday night. Starting with the quarterbacks, I had a decision to make between Jordan Love and Jackson Dart after Justin Fields got benched at the end of last week. And I went with Jackson Dart. He scores just under 20 points. A fine performance. Jordan Love, obviously, with a much higher score, but it didn't cost us. Joe Flacco on Zach's side. Great streaming option this week. It worked out for him. 24 points, 2 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground. I was hoping for a bigger game from Jackson Dart. Maybe more rushing production. Only the 17 yards here. In every game besides the one against the Broncos, he had about 50 rushing yards. But it was plenty to get us over the line in week 8. At the running back position, Devon Achane continues to be our best and most consistent player. 20 points, PPR machine, he scores the touchdown. The heavy hitters of this roster is something that I want to get into a little later, and Devon Achane is one of, if not the only one. Then we have Jordan Mason, who put up an absolute dud on Thursday Night Football, 1.6 points. It was an awful game script for him. The Vikings looked terrible. I'm hoping that when JJ McCarthy comes back, maybe this offense can look a little better and positive game scripts can benefit Jordan Mason. I think there are games in the cards where he could have 15 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown, even with Aaron Jones back. I think that it will absolutely happen. It just needs to be the right game and the offense needs to be humming. For now, nobody is going to want to trade for Jordan Mason. His value is in the toilet. So he's just going to be a guy that sits on my bench, and he is a flex option in good matchups. On Zach's side, Alvin Kamara disappointing again, 6.5 points. He might be washed. But then he gets a good performance from Woody Marks. 11 for 62, 4 receptions in a PPR league, gets him to 15 points. He looked good against the 49ers. At wide receiver, starting off with Keenan Allen in that Thursday night game, 8.5 points. It's fine, no touchdown. I mean, that's what I expect from Keenan Allen every once in a while. And then T. Higgins, 2 targets, and he turns it into 1 for 44 and a touchdown. 11.5 points on 1 play. Now, with T. Higgins, some people might be saying, oh, Sam, this means you lost the trade, whatever. I don't think that's the case at all. He had 10 and 8 targets in the 2 previous weeks with Joe Flacco. And Jamar Chase is not going to get 20 targets a game. It won't happen. He has 23 and 19 in the past 2 weeks. I promise you that not every defense is going to allow for Joe Flacco to throw to Jamar Chase 20 times. It's just not going to happen. T. Higgins is going to have more games with double-digit targets, and we just need to hope that he gives us the boom games when we need them. We lost out the wide receiver battle this week. Jaden Higgins on Zach's side with a touchdown. Tyrell McMillan with a bit of a breakout, 7 for 99. At tight end, George Kittle gets us the touchdown. He could have had a second one. It looked like Jake Tonges kind of stole that from him at the end of the game there. That would have been nice to get to. And then obviously Zach had the big performance from Miranda Gadsden on Thursday night. At flex, J.K. Dobbins, this one was really frustrating. 15 for 111. He looked great against that awful Cowboys defense. And RJ Harvey gets 3 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins doesn't get 1. He was stuffed at the goal line 2 or 3 times. Should have absolutely had a touchdown in this game. But because the Cowboys are so awful, he was able to give us an okay score without the touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 3 for 14, but he gets a touchdown, which saves his day. Hopefully some bigger performances going forward. I view him and Keenan kind of similarly. They're going to be between 5 and 15 points most weeks, which isn't great, but it's fine for a low-level flex. And then they'll have a boom game every once in a while, like Diggs did against the Bills a few weeks ago. Zach's flexes, starting with Jake Ferguson with a goose egg against the Broncos. That was huge for us. And then Xavier Worthy, he had JCM, Bill Krosky Merritt, in this spot all weekend. And then we get to Monday, and he needs 11.8 points. Any less than that, I win the matchup. Any more, he takes it. And Zach, basically, me and him talked about it. He just didn't see a path to 12 points for JCM. And he was absolutely right. He had like 25 yards. Negative game script for a running back who does not catch the ball with a backup quarterback. It was just not looking good. So he makes a trade for Xavier Worthy, trading Jordan Addison, who he acquired in the same day, to downgrade at that spot rest of season for a chance to win here in week 8. And it was so close. 1.5 points away from winning. The way that I watched that game last night was the worst way to watch football. Just watching it through my hands, praying that the ball doesn't go to Xavier Worthy. Every time Mahomes loads up and he just throws it down the field and I can't see which receiver it's going to, it was awful. Terrible way to watch football. I never want to have to do that. My kicker was pretty disappointing. Brandon Aubrey was fine. And then the Bills defense, great call by us with this. 19 points, targeting that Andy Dalton game. He loves a turnover. So many things in this matchup, if they go another way, it changes the outcome, right? Because the margins were so close, and getting 19 points from our defense was really, really helpful. The only real things to note on the bench were Jordan Love had a good game, 28 points, but he's been dropped to the waiver wire. I think he's just a streamer, and I'm not going to be playing him this week or next, so there's no need to have him on my roster. And then Christian Watson, his potential wide receiver 1, we picked up off of waivers going into the weekend, and he had 12.5 points. I'm excited by that in his first game back, where he's not even playing a full allotment of snaps. If he can get more integrated, if he emerges as the wide receiver 1 here with Matthew Golden failing to do that, that would be a huge pickup for us. And then Deebo Samuel is also here on the bench. Not much to say with him. I mean, he's dealing with a backup quarterback against a really good defense is tough. With Jaden Daniels back, I have no doubt he will be back to putting up those big numbers. He's averaging 17 points per game with Jaden Daniels in the lineup, so hopefully some big performances from him going forward. So we held on to the dub here in week 8. Let's see where that places us in the standings. So after this win, we are 4-4 and sitting in 7th place, just outside of the playoff picture. There are 4 teams at 4-4. Myself in 7th, we have the Devs in 5th, Thomas the Editor in 6th, and Danny Ladd in 8th, who we are playing this week. Now all of us are only a game behind the 3rd and 4th place teams, Avery and Bush at 5-3, and we're a game ahead of Zach and Nathan at 3-5. Obviously, I say this every week, this chunk in the middle is going to shuffle all the time, and it's going to spread out more as the weeks go along, but it is still very, very close. I could be as high as 5th after this week is done. I could be as low as 10th. Right? So we'll have to see how it plays out. Let's head over to the waiver wire. Not a whole lot of action on the wire this week. Zach gets Chimere DK for $11. Mason picks up Harold Fannin for $11, who Thomas dropped. The Devs get Xavier Leggett for their head coach Joe's latest punt in their flex spot. We'll see what he does. Nick the Editor picks up Ollie Gordon, who I did bid for as my Devon Achane handcuff. He got a little more involved this week in the short yardage stuff, but he's not going to be a guy you can play unless Devon Achane gets hurt, and in that case, my season would be over anyways. Zach gets a defense with Seattle. Mason picks up his Saquon Barkley handcuff, Tank Bigsby. My first pickup here, Samaje Perine, who had a very big game against the Jets. They're not going to play the Jets every week, obviously. But if this offense is humming, I could potentially have Samaje Perine as a low-level flex play in a really good matchup, even with Chase Brown healthy. And if Chase Brown gets hurt, then he's a smash play. Mason gets Kenny Gainwell. Thomas adds Dylan Sampson. Sal gets a defense with the Browns. Avery adds Jaden Blue. Badaki gets the Cowboys. And my low-level pickup here, Roman Wilson, just a stash on the bench. He looked okay against the Packers on Sunday night. Maybe that continues. So a pretty boring wire this week. Let's head over to my Week 9 matchup. All right, in Week 9, we are up against the loudest and the proudest of the Flock League, Danny Ladd of Fantasy Stock Exchange. And our matchup kind of revolves around his favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. Our quarterbacks are matched up in that game. I have Kyler Murray, who I picked up on Sunday. This league has, in my opinion, a weird setting where you can drop players on your bench after their game has already started. So I was able to pick up Kyler Murray before waivers this week and drop a guy on my bench who had already played. So every weekend on Sunday, I'm looking at defensive matchups for the next week, quarterback streamers to see who I can get early before everybody's looking at them for the waiver wire. And that's what I did with Kyler. It's the best matchup for quarterbacks in fantasy football. And I'm kind of hedging against Danny's best players here because he has the Dak and CeeDee Lamb stack. And if they put up a ton of points, chances are Kyler's going to do the same. At running back, I have Devon Achane on Thursday night against Baltimore. I'm excited about that. The Ravens have been a good matchup for running back so far. The Dolphins' offense looks competent, maybe. So I'm excited for that game. He's been Mr. Consistent for me, and he's my only heavy hitter. I said I wanted to talk about that, and I will here. Heavy hitters are what is winning this league. If you look at the top, it's Sal with those running backs, JT and Christian McCaffrey. It's Mason with Josh Allen and Josh Jacobs, who has been great. A big performance from Saquon Barkley this past week. Avery, who is probably the 3rd best team in the league right now, has Rashee Rice and Jamar Chase and Patrick Mahomes, who's been great. Even Bush, the last team that is well above 500 at 5-3, he has Lamar Jackson and Bijan Robinson. These guys that can get you 30, 35 points on any given week are what wins matchups. And right now we only have Devon Achane. As I go through my lineup, I'll talk about the potential of some of these other guys, but we're going to need to potentially make a move for one of those other guys, and I have been trying. My running back 2 this week is J.K. Dobbins at Houston. Not a good matchup. All I can pray for is a touchdown. Danny's running back situation is not great. Jaylen Warren is obviously a good start against the Colts. Not a great matchup, but he should be fine. And then Bam Knight, again in that Monday night game. Our matchup will come down to Monday night. And Zonovan Bam Knight looks to be the starter for the Cardinals. I guess my hope would be that they're down in the game. They have to throw a lot, which means Kyler probably puts up some points, and DeMarcado would be more involved in that running back room for the Cardinals. A big Bam Knight game to send me to 4-5 would be heartbreaking. At wide receiver, I currently have Keenan Allen in a good matchup in my lineup there. The Titans have just traded their only good corner that they had left healthy, Roger McCreary, to the Rams, and he's a slot corner, so Keenan should cook here. T. Higgins against the Bears. Their secondary is incredibly injured. Like I said, I do not expect 20 targets for Jamar Chase every single week. T. Higgins will have big boom games. He has the potential to be a heavy hitter for us. Obviously, with Joe Burrow last year, he had some 25, he had a 40-point game, I think, in week 17 against the Broncos. So I know that that is in him, and he is the bet that I made with that Nico Collins trade, that he will be good, that he will put up lots of points, and I expect it from him this week. On Danny's side, this is where the fear starts. CeeDee Lamb in that Monday night game against the Cardinals. Obviously, a quieter week against the Broncos in week 8, but the Broncos are a very good defense. Pat Surtain obviously there, and the Cardinals are just not as good, and CeeDee Lamb probably puts up a big score. I just gotta hope that I can outscore with the players around him. And then Danny has Travis Hunter in the lineup right now, who had a bit of a breakout the week before the bye. Hopefully he just plays some corner this week, just tries to defend the Raiders, who have good receivers, right? At tight end, it's a heavyweight matchup. George Kittle against Tucker Kraft. George Kittle, I need Brock Purdy to come back. Brock Purdy loves Kittle. Mac Jones seems to be fine with him. It's just not as productive as I would like. Brock Purdy coming back would be huge for Kittle, and it would be huge for Pearsall if he can make it out of the injury tent. Deebo Samuel and Stephon Diggs in my flex spots. Deebo against Seattle. Hopefully with Jaden Daniels back, he is better. He was averaging 17 points per game, like I said, with Jaden in the lineup, so hopefully some bigger things to come with him. And then Stephon Diggs. The Falcons is a weird matchup because it was bad, but then they just allowed like 34 points to Tua and the Dolphins. Drake May obviously looks like an MVP candidate, and Stephon Diggs is always a candidate to have a 20-point game. So I am fine playing him. If Ricky Pearsall can go, I prefer Ricky, I think. But Diggs is a fine start if I have to play him. Danny's flexes, the second half of his wide receiver room is Puka Nacua. And playing against the Saints, he looks like all signs are pointing to him coming back this week. Just like CeeDee Lamb, I just got to try and outscore him with the guys around him in my lineup. Danny's second flex is a decision for him to make. Currently, Colston Loveland is in there. I don't think he'll stay in there, but we'll talk about his other options when we get to the bench. We can skip over the kickers to the defenses, where I picked up Jacksonville on Sunday. They are coming up against the Raiders and Geno Smith. So Geno loves a pick. The Raiders have looked awful. Hopefully a big score there. And Danny is starting the New England Patriots against the bipolar Atlanta Falcons. Hopefully with Michael Penix back, they can put up some more points in that game and limit his defense. Not a whole lot to say on my bench. We have Jackson Dart, who I am holding for future matchups, but this week it will be Kyler if he's playing. Samaje Perine and Jordan Mason as depth pieces at running back, and then Roman Wilson and Christian Watson. Christian Watson, excited to see if he can increase that production that he started with on that Sunday Night Football game, and Roman Wilson just as a stash. He might be gone before the weekend starts. Danny's flex decision between Colston Loveland, Isaiah Pacheco, who looked like he banged up his knee a little bit in that Monday night game. We'll see if he goes. And then he's got Tajay Spears as an option, Alec Pierce. All of these guys are fine flex options, but none of them scare me. This looks like a pretty even matchup. I like to think that we're in a good spot. We just don't have the heavy hitters that he does. CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua. We don't have a wide receiver like that. Dak Prescott could put up a massive score. Speaking of these heavy hitters, obviously we have Devon Achane. But like I said when I mentioned all the teams at the top, these are the guys that are going to win you your league. And George Kittle could potentially get there with Brock Purdy back. T. Higgins, like I said, but I don't know how consistent that'll be. I want to try and acquire one of these other guys. And this team, while it is managed by myself, this is the team of the fans. This is not just Sammy Stacks' team. Obviously my trade video did very well. There are going to be a lot of more people watching this channel than there were before. I want to get some conversation going in the comments. What heavy hitters should I be targeting? Who is a guy who hasn't performed at that level so far but could get there that I could be trying to buy on the cheap? Any advice that you guys have for the team, I want to hear about it because this is a group effort. I want the fans to be running this team and I want the fans to be taking down these creators. So that is all I got for you guys here heading into week 9. Thank you all for tuning in and thank you so much for all the support on that last trade video. I did not imagine for a second that anything like this would happen. I was just making these videos for fun, and to have it, I mean, it's over 30,000 views and I'm up over 1,000 subscribers. Making fantasy football content is something that I have thought about in the past just because I love the game so much and it consumes so much of my life. But genuinely, until this opportunity, it's not something that I ever felt confident enough to jump into. And I just can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to sort of live out this dream, at least the start of it. So thank you so much. Let's get a dub here in week 9. Good luck to all of you, and I will see you in week 10.